Yeah, man. So, all right. I say slate. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, bro.
What are you saying? Good?
Right here, man. Right here, man. Thank you very much for the invite. You know.
Yeah, man.
Good stuff,
yeah,
man. Love to see the-
Ran into you at Cafe del Sol.
Exactly. Just happenstance, you know. I just rode the bus. I was picking up a customer car. I said, "Listen, me ride the bus real fast." Got off at the bus stop, like the good old days. Said, "Let me just go and had my staff come and pick me up."
Okay.
So yeah, I had it's a young guy I have that started with us now, and yeah, he gave me hope. He gave me hope
Yeah.
for the future, man. They got a lot of ambitious young kids out there still.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that for sure.
Caymanian guy, or?
Yeah, man. He's a young guy. You know, we get to the point where we get to that age where I had to ask him, like, who your mama is? I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, when did that happen? And then his mother actually went to school with me, so
Is that right?
yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Wow, you're there, bro.
Yeah, boy.
It's funny
So,
you get older, but you don't ever really feel like
you don't
get
feel
older.
it. You don't feel it, bro. When I talked to him, I was like, some of the Compass, shout out to Compass Media, they had the archives. So there was an article from 2004 on my first races that I did, and I ended up on the podium, second place. And I'm like, wow, this is 2004. I'm like, Jesus.
2 decades.
Yeah.
Over 2 decades.
Yeah,
What
man.
race that was?
That was up the quarter mile. Lebanese to have it at the not breakers, before breakers, down in the mall pit there. I mean, not the mall pit, High Rock. Sorry. Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
really gone to any of those, so I'm kind of out of the loop with the racing and all that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with the drag racing is I think motorsports has always been a big part of Cayman. Not sure why. I think, listen, don't hold me to this, but probably per capita, Cayman has some of the most like badass cars just parked up. You would not believe just how many cars are here that are just drag built and so forth in terms of per capita. Jamaica
Right.
got a lot of machines, Antigua, a lot of countries, but I think something to do with here. I think the motorsports is such a big sport, and shout out to the AI group with Parker's Raceway,
Right.
Keith and his team
Right.
bringing it back. So that should be open. I heard summertime this year, so that could
Okay.
be amazing. for
Okay,
sure.
so they're not open it yet? They're not race out there yet in a while?
Yeah, so I think they extended it, did some renovations, extended the runoff, made some more parking because I know when they reopen this thing, it's going to be massive.
nice.
Yeah, so shout out to those guys. It's they've put a lot of money into it, and I'm so thankful that Cayman is such a blessed place that we have a lot of wealthy people here, and I'm so thankful that some of them has put their hand back in the soil and reinvest back into the country. Because I think if we get back to kind of our ancestry, that is a big part of why Cayman has become such a powerhouse, is that you had, my grandfather, many people grandfather just went to sea and send the money back home. They just didn't, make my money and just, whatever.
Do my own thing.
Yeah, do my own thing. So, the Colonels and Bawdens and them, they just built up from the proceeds of going to sea, and many others, McLaughlins and so forth, right? Seymours. So for me, it's like, I find it almost mandatory that if you are from here to at least do something to give and put like what you're doing right now. You know what I'm saying? This is proof of the conclusion right here. You have a podcast set up, this trying to speak to other Caymanians and other people just that might be interested in have a conversation, share some intelligence, share some insights, and who knows where it goes, For
Yeah,
sure.
man, reinvesting in yourself,
For sure.
in the
for sure.
island, in Cayman. It's easy to think that there's other things out there and that are more important, But Cayman is so small, and we do lack things.
Yeah.
And so there is a tendency to want to look abroad as if there's better things out there. But I think we can surprise ourselves.
Absolutely. I think it comes down to, definitely one of the big clips going around lately was I think one of the clips from the podcast previously with Tevin. Very, very smart young man, and we speak on and off for quite some time, and he's always been that type of person for sure. He's always been that type of person, and honest to goodness, it's I think strung up a little bit of a little controversy on one side of the coin, saying we should be entitled to something, and then others are saying, hey, our ancestors, our forefathers created something, so how are you going to maintain that? How are you going to now earn that entitlement? Because I think that's a part of it too. You gotta, take your mind and put it into the soil and kind of, again, go from there.
It's an interesting question, that balance between, yes, this is mine, I deserve this, and then also, but still having to work for it and fight it and protect it. It's hard to say that if it's one or the other, but what the balance is.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, I have no idea if this applies or not, but remember the Jacob and Esau story?
Okay.
And then their father was supposed to give them the inheritance. And it was supposed to go to Esau.
And one of them tried to.
And then Jacob sneaked in and got the inheritance. And then like, as you read the story, you feel bad for Esau because he got tricked out of it.
Yeah.
But then as the story goes on, he don't get it back. Jacob takes it and runs with it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's so interesting. Yeah. It's like, because you can make the argument that what Jacob did was bad. He tricked his dad to give him the inheritance instead of his son.
Yeah.
Or the eldest son at least. But then, we look at the Bible as a source of what's telling you what's good, bad. But this is Jacob now, who is the line of David and Jesus.
Exactly.
And it's, I don't know. I don't know if it applies or not. But it just came to my mind when you were saying that.
I think he saw the opportunity. I think he saw it. And again, there's sort of like an obligation to understand that we have been blessed with this climate, this environment, and this foundation that was built upon before us. So I think there is a deep understanding that has to be understood spiritually. Because I think one of the things I believe that is kind of tripping and not to go too deep into certain things, but like, we're three people. It's a mind, body, and soul. But I feel somehow we believe that we are a body. I look at you as a person right now, and that's just the body. That's just the external.
Right.
There is a mind that's inside of you that is controlling certain attitudes, certain things. But then there's a soul that is also the real governor behind things. And I think sometimes when people are a little bit out of alignment, it's because, and I think a lot of the Caymanians has naturally strayed away a little bit from understanding that it's a spiritual thing. I think if you can understand what your ancestors went through from the mosquitoes and all this other aspects and the work that was needed to get a better life for the descendants, then we have to look at that as an obligation to then carry that energy forward, and not just say, well, because we got AC and some tiles and some running water means that's it. Because Cayman up until the 60s, I think Cayman water and majority of CUC really happened from maybe late 50s, 60s. But before then, it was kind of cisterns and everything else. And that's not that long ago, if you think about it.
Not that long ago. And we wasn't really saying nothing then, but yet our forefathers were here, living in a different environment, way different. And what's interesting to me about that perspective is when you think back to how they were living then, is that it would have been hard if I was living in that time to imagine a future that was prosperous.
Yeah.
And like because there's no way you would have thought, this is going to one day be one of the financial centers of the world. There's no way that would have crossed your mind. You out there dealing with mosquitoes, you've been on cars on the road. You can't get from East End to Georgetown. Yeah. You're kind of like stuck. Then in 25 years, all of a sudden, the financial center of the world.
What's interesting is during the agriculture week for the BRAC, I flew over, and I'm not a person to fly. And I fly if I have to. So my aunt was like, hey, we should all go for the family and take the whole family and so forth, right? So
you're like, "Nah, I gotta go on the plane."
I was thinking like, I'm not gonna go. And we got there early, right? We had to get an early flight, and my aunt said, hey, gonna go visit one of my friends, and so forth. So I'm like, oh, okay, let's go. So we went, got to speak to Mr. Rennie Hislop. Now, I've heard his name before as one of the premier developers of Cayman, with major projects and so forth. And just so happened that we just got to speaking. And honestly, man, it just went from kind of one subject to the next. And he was telling me about when, you know where the Burger King is on West Bay Road? So the gas station there, that was the first, before Galleria, before West Shore. He said when he bought that place, he had left his job. He didn't have no real clue what he was going to do. He just knew he wanted to make the best what he could do. He built the gas station, and he could look either direction and just see nothing but road.
Interesting.
There was no Galleria, nothing. He said you could pretty much just stand there and look to the east and just see almost toward the cemetery. Like it just really nothing. You know, one to I think Martin place. But I'm saying is, to add to your point,
no hotels, nothing.
And then he explained he sold that and then bought out a lot of parcels in South Sound. And I asked him, what made you decide? He's like, I just saw the potential because that was nothing but where people dock their boats, clean boat. You know what I mean? Like no one could envision that it would be what it is now, I think. But I think it just speaks to their hard work and their belief in themselves. And I believe that is where we as young Caymanians now have to take that mantle back up and not only just become business owners. Not everyone is set out to be a business owner, and I understand that.
Sure.
But there is still an obligation that we have to do with each other to actually, create. And just yesterday, I was speaking to a friend of mine, and I said, let me land this plane real fast, right? If you could name me 5 businesses started with multiple Caymanians that are not kin, not related, nothing. Not cousins, not brothers, not married into it. Just 2 Caymanian, Douglas Watler, or is it Douglas McLaughlin, right? And James Whitaker, or whatever, right? That saw each other and said, let's work and build this thing. And up to now, I think he can't name me 5, which is a shame because somehow I think the individualism is kind of hurting us as well, if you think about it. But you can walk the whole of 7 Mile Beach and see many businesses that were partnered and founded in Cayman by a bartender and a dive instructor.
Right.
That said, hey, I got this idea. You got some capital. He got some marketing experience. Let's build this thing.
True.
So I think we got to address that.
No, it's true. It's true. That's that age-old thing, the crab in the bucket mentality, man. It's a shame. I wonder what that is, It's some psychological thing, And it's like, maybe it's like the Jacob and Esau thing again, because they were brothers, right?
Yeah.
So like, what is it that prevents us from really working together?
I think if you see each other not as... I think if someone sees themselves better than the other person, it's hard to disconnect. Like if I went to school with this person, and it's hard to see who that person really is versus what you have known.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a dogma attached to like, oh, he was not smart in high school that I remember. So he can't be that. So they'll never see where you are going and what you're becoming. They'll just see kind of what you were and trying to remind you of that in a way.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they're trying to remind you and say, oh, well, not much could change then. So I'll rather just do it by myself. And again, I expanded on further and I said, okay, I've seen Caymanians in the same business that instead of saying, okay, I got 100,000, what could I and who could I invest in? And say, hey, hey, sir, what would you need to grow your business? versus I'm going to see this man business and then now I'm going to build something that is competitive and then becomes a price at the bottom, a race to the bottom, because now I got undercut his rate because I can't see him as my brother or sister to build with him. I see me as this person and him as that person. And that's where I believe
some of that disconnect comes.
Yeah, we got to get back to it, man. We got to get back.
That's interesting. I like what you're saying about how we see people in the past, and that's how we just kind of imagine them. Because what's interesting about that is that what I've noticed with some of the people I went to school with is that some of them that maybe didn't do so well in school, like not even like just education wise, but maybe even like socially wise, like now some of them out there are running the businesses and doing way more than I thought that they would have been, right? And then even vice versa. Some people out there were just killing it, pure A's, and then they're just kind of stagnant. But it's kind of now, I mean, but it's kind of that idea of like, you know, a prophet is never without honor except in his own country, right? Because you see someone, even like when they saw Jesus, they're like, that's Mary's son, the brother of James and John. Like,
there you go.
He not nothing.
He can't be nobody.
He can't be nobody.
How is he the Messiah? I saw where this man born. I saw where he raised.
Exactly.
He should be coming down from heaven in these things, and that's. It's always my opinion is. No one really makes it where they're from. If you think about it, let's say Bob Marley. If he stayed in Jamaica, he might have been a great, you know, singer, same talent, everything, but as a global sensation, maybe not. Who knows? Michael Jackson, if he stayed in Gary, Indiana, he wouldn't have, you know what I mean, blew up the way. So I think, I mean, even if you're in the Hollywood, like you got to go to Hollywood in most cases, right? Now I believe the world is becoming more of a global, but it still shows you have to move somewhere in order to. And honestly, this is why I believe superheroes wear disguises, because anonymity is a superpower. If I don't know you, I can say and believe anything you tell me. All you have to do is use the nomenclature of an expert, and then you can reinvent yourself. And I think it's hard to do that here because you're also in a little bit low-key reminded of yourself. So I have cousins that I speak to, and I'm coming from West Bay. You know, I didn't have no thing to, you know, trajectory to say I'm going to be a business leader and all these things. I had a cousin that spoke to me and said, hey, you know, John, you're motivating. And I said, well, you know, because I don't set out to be a motivation or inspiration. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I set out to be evidence. To be evidence that you could come from what seems to be a very humble, just normal upbringing, and you can take your ideas out of your mind and create something. That is a possibility. And I just want to be the evidence to show that. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's another reason why our forefathers have to put their hand in the soil. For example, Mr. Keith, Parker, his son, he saw what his father did, and now there's a belief in him that this is possible.
Right.
Regardless of the, like they say seeing is believing. I think it's the opposite way. Because if you try to believe by first seeing, then you could never go beyond what you can see. So if no one in your family is a millionaire, how will you believe you can be? Right. So if you have to believe it, then you see it. Right. If you believe in something big enough, your belief will create the facts to it. And there's that, again, internal back and forth with your mind where, again, we owe it to our children and our children's children to be excellent. If you want to ask me what Cayman we got to do to get back to certain things, we got to go back to being excellent and not celebrate mediocrity. Trying and all this, get out of your vocabulary. Right. I don't try. I either do it or don't. Right. There is no try. Right. I don't mean saying like Yoda or anything, but like, there is no, you either do or you don't. Right. And you know what I'm saying, my children all kind of have that same kind of philosophy where we got to do something or we not. But trying, I think, I understand the premise of it, but sometimes you kind of set yourself up to just
try.
Just try, because there's no expectation, you see.
Right.
I think you got to expect a lot of yourself. And I'm sure when you started shooting your movie, you started doing directing, what was that like in your mind? You know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh my God, all this money, all these things. I gotta, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure you didn't start out like that.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I did have a vision. I did probably have a larger vision than was probably appropriate. But at the same time, it's not inappropriate because I'm still striving for it, and therefore I'm still growing. You know what I mean? So, and yeah, for me personally, just starting was it was a personal thing. It's what I had to do, and it's. You know, I've come a long way, but along the way, things change and your vision changes and you end up seeing more possibilities than even that you had at the beginning. And that's what's interesting when you're talking about Keith and Mr. Parker and them is I think, I don't know the story. I don't know the story of Mr. Parker. From what I understand, maybe I'll bring Keith on here and he can set me straight. But I think his dad started just selling car insurance. Right? And then from there, now you're looking at car parts. And then from there, now you're looking at what he's doing with AI, with the rentals. And then you sort of diversify as you go along, right?
Yeah.
And so you end up creating more possibilities than you maybe originally imagined. Yeah. By just keeping at it, you know?
Yeah, it's like an attitude thing. I think if you have that positive attitude of kind of, well, what's the worst that could happen? Let's just do our best. Again, let's not try anything. Let's just do our best. Every day we're going to set up with some form of objective, some form of, outline, whether it be 2 goals, 3 goals, and we're going to do that every day. And if you understand that, that's kind of what separates most people, if we're to be honest, I can tell you, like, hearing stories of my grandfather and many of the other sailors and so forth, they weren't trying to navigate somewhere. You are on this course heading, to Jamaica, to Isle of Pines. You didn't if I head this direction with this wind speed, I'm going to get there at this time.
Right.
That's just what it's going to be. But they had an attitude to work that they saw it as being proud that they could go. Even, I'm sure it might have hurt their significant others and their children to see their father have to leave. But that was kind of the only thing you had to do. So even if that's the only thing you have, do that to the best of your ability. Right. And send the proceeds back. The country builds. Now we are kind of in this generation where some of us are the grandchildren in our late, early 40s, late 30s, are the grandchildren of these people. And now we've kind of just looking around well, what do we do? Because our parents had a little bit better upbringing in terms of the economy was different and so forth. So it wasn't so, I think there was a way to do it. So it's like if I tell you to dig a hole and I say, okay, it's got to be 6 feet and you just got to dig the hole because it's a very clear instructions. Now we got so much AI and so much job opportunities that I feel a lot of the youth have just kind of their brains just all over the place. Because if you grew up as a shipbuilder and your dad was a shipbuilder and your dad was a blacksmith, it kind of you just found your way into that. Right. Because that's just what you saw around you. Now kids are just on iPads and just kind of
too many options.
Too many options. So now you're like, what do I do? What do I find my passion? Or and I would say to people, just try to find something you're interested in. And I've spoken with Keith, not very in depth, to just go back to that point. I think what it was is just, 1, seeing the example that it is possible, and then 2, having a very relentless work energy, just that effort. I've seen this person in action, Mr. Keith, and it's just a like very.
He's like a bulldog,
yeah,
man.
let's get it done.
Just keep
let's
going.
Get it
Just
done.
keep going.
And I think if you saw that growing up, that's kind of how you become.
Right.
And there's a patience level to it, but then I think seeing it makes you believe in it. I mean, to divert for a second, you look at, I don't know, sprinting in Jamaica. Okay, you had Usain Bolt. They saw he grew up around the corner down in Trelawney and them layers there, right? Now there's another young lady, I think she's under 20, breaking records. Because she's like a few blocks away from, I understand,
Right.
from where Usain Bolt grew up.
Right.
Now, you think that's just coincidence, or is that just a belief in knowing if he did it, I can do it too? And that is why I believe we have to return back to putting our hand. It's not enough to buy some exotic stuff in Cayman and just sit and say, oh, my family good.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit insulting for the generations that came before us.
Right,
I think we got to go back to, but there you at today? You got some food, you need something? Right?
Right.
And Ivan took us back to that point.
Yeah.
And then since then, everything is like, yo, I good.
Yeah.
My family good. That's
Yeah.
it. No one is trying to share nothing.
It's like it's an open door thing. Because what I really liked about Ivan was that because everywhere got soaking wet inside, everyone had their doors open.
Yeah.
And that small little change
Come on now.
changed so much because so many people walk across your door and then you be like, yo, we saying like, what you doing? Like, and then like people, I'll never forget that. Because for 3 months, so many people just had their doors open.
Yeah.
And so many, it just makes you realize how many people cross your door, but because your door is closed, you don't make that connection.
You shut off. You shut off, and then we complaining that we've lost our way. And it's like, we just got to get back to what works. And what works is being your brother's keeper, you know, and understanding the opportunity. Back to Jacob. And it's like, if you see the opportunity, yes, I mean, there's a wrong way to go about it. There's a right way to go about it. But I think once you go about it, that's the thing. It's like, just start, just do something, get something started, and just be as consistent, be as open and as honest about it as possible. And you know, I don't think Jacob tried. He's like, yo, I taking this, you know, and I'm gonna build this because I feel it in my soul that this is the thing for me to do. And I think that's why he did it. Same thing with David, and you know, I think a lot of these biblical did some questionable things that we would think no, but for sure. But you know, I think in your soul, I think, you know, when you started doing what you're doing now, as a profession, as a career, there's probably no evidence to say that this is going to turn out. But I think you know what I mean. I think in your soul, you knew this is something you love doing.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think when you think back to school, do you think more can be done at the school level to encourage this kind of thought? What was your experience like?
That's a good, I think.
Because I don't feel like we were ever really encouraged to be entrepreneurial. At least I wasn't.
No, me either. My mom was a seamstress, so she would sew clothes for certain parts of the community, like certain parts in our. I grew up mainly in an apartment complex, so my mom would do our stuff, and maybe some are one, two neighbors, some are cousins. So I wouldn't say it was like a business thing, but I think in school, man, I think you kind of just did what you did just to kind of get through school, and that was it. I mean, I think that explains my school, how it was for me. I just did what I did to get through. Yeah. And I think, honestly, once we get into understanding that, 1 second there. Yeah, I think once we understand that school is just for the education, in my opinion. It's a good way to get the education, good way to meet friends, good way to, you know, to become knowledgeable and so forth. But I think as a community wider, we have an obligation as well. You know, if anyone has ever, that anyone knows me, if anyone has ever said, hey, Jonathan, I need a few minutes to talk about some business or something that I have in my mind, the answer is always yes. Because I see it as my responsibility and obligation to share certain insights that may be applicable to that individual. I don't have all the answers, but I've deployed a few principles that has yielded financial success and other successful aspects of my life. It's my obligation to share that, you know, especially to my Caymanians, especially to my younger people. I don't discriminate against anything, but especially to my Caymanians, from my siblings to strangers. I mean, anywhere I go, I just try to share with people. Like one of the things I would say to people is this, right? But there is, I say, okay, young lady working at my cross. Say, do you know if you could be making $10,000 or $20,000 a month in the next 36 months? And usually I do this exercise where I write down 2 words. And every single time I ask that question to anyone that, you know, that might think it's impossible, there's 2 things that they answer themselves. What would I have to do? And how would I do it? You see, I think school teaches that. That anything you want to change is outside. So I said, and then I write a word up to the top. And no one ever asks this part. Who? Who would I have to become to accomplish that? So what it means, in my opinion, what I think is things, we believe that it has to be outside of us in order for it to affect us. As opposed to if we become a better person or a different person, then we can attract the $10,000 or $20,000 a month. But if we make that seem like a mountain that is so impossible, you're going to think, well, what do I have to do? I can't. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know a doctor. I don't know nothing, right? Or whatever. Or again, how would I do it? You know, do I play the lottery or whatever? Because they think it's outside of them. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, you know, and who you become
is the question. That's the real question. And that's the question I've really learned on my entrepreneurial journey in running the business. When you want to take the business to the next level, the obstacle is always you. It's always you. And that's a tough thing to swallow, you know, because you have to change. You have to look at things differently. And you didn't think that was part of this whole process.
That's it.
You thought that you were good. So now what do I have to do? And how do I have to do it? Right? But if I do this, that's where the school is like, if I do this, then there is a sum equation for the success for it to happen. So if I study hard, then I'll pass a test. If I pass a test, then I'll get good grades. If I get good grades, I get into college. So there's always this linear approach that you think, and then you get into business and you realize you did everything right. You did the presentation right. You answered all the questions. You did the slide decks. You did the, you know, the landing page. You did everything what everyone said, and they still said no. Because there is a belief in your mind that you're so fixated on the outcome being favorable to you that you've missed the point, which is how do you persuade that person to believe what you believe, that you believe what they believe, and that you have done so much homework to solve their problem that you're now able. And I, you know, with the videographer thing, I would have my former associates and I would say, do you know when you can start to justifiably increase your prices? And they're like, yeah, you know, based on my hourly rate. And I'm like, listen, when you start to ask better questions, listen, the way in which you ask questions, the questions you ask determines your level of professionalism and your level of expertise. If I came to you and started talking to you about cameras and other things, right, that you're an expert on, and I'm asking you certain questions, you already know where my level is at. If I'm asking you basic stuff like, what is ISO or what is f-stop and all, you're like, okay. But if you start looking at dynamic range, and you might think, oh, yeah, he might have a little bit more, you know, a little more expertise, but there might be certain other aspects like maybe time codes and other things that you might say, oh,
this man, is on a different level.
Right.
But yeah, when you ask better questions, that really is a key indicator of your knowledge.
Where did you learn that from? Because I've heard that a lot. I've heard that the phrase is the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the quality of questions that you consistently ask yourself. So where did you come up with this concept?
Honestly, man, just research, just watching a lot of content, having mentors, just being a student, a lifelong student. In my opinion, I think the minute you believe you know something is when you kind of on your downward. I think you should always be a lifetime student where you're constantly questioning things. And you can know certain things, don't get me wrong, but I think there is a, knowledge and wisdom. If you go back to biblically, wisdom, we would translate that word to be skill in today's language.
Interesting.
Yeah. So when I'm going to tell you he's wise, I mean, he's skilled.
Right.
And I think because we feel we know things or we're knowledgeable, it's not the same thing as being skilled. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not the same thing. Because what's interesting about that is that there's a lot of intellectuals, a lot of people who have a lot of knowledge. They can't start a business. They haven't even started to start a business. They can't run a business. Yeah. And then I've seen those same people get upset when someone who has less knowledge is running a business and making all this money. And they're like, how is that possible? So, it's a skill. It's a skill. There's a difference between acquiring knowledge and actually doing something.
Yeah,
doing something productive.
It's the doing that you become skilled. And if you go back to biblical, it would say he's a wise man because he has deployed himself in his activity. So he deployed himself by doing it allows you to become skilled. But you make mistakes and then you're like, oh man, I gotta change. And I did a hot take on this a couple of weeks ago. I said, I believe it is for every young man to become an apprentice or to be an apprentice when they start out.
Right.
Because as an apprentice, you understand you don't really know anything yet. But if you stay on a job site long enough and you get around people that are wise, that are knowledgeable in the thing that they're doing, you de facto has to get more knowledge. And I think, again, going back to biblical, they'll say those that walk with the wise shall become wise. And I always thought about it like, walk. Why would he use that word, walk? And if you think about it, right? If you go in your way, okay, and if we walk in together, one of our paces will regulate and adjust to the other. Either I'm going to walk a little bit faster, kids, take up to you, or you're going to walk a little slower to take up to me.
I like that.
You see?
I see what you're saying.
So we can stroll and have a conversation while moving. It's the action part. If he could have said, those that sit with the wise shall become.
Right.
You see? So because of that lack of action allows you to just procrastinate and feel that because I'm knowledgeable means that I mean nothing. It's essential, but it's not sufficient.
Because when you're walking, you're in tandem.
Correct. Correct.
And like you were saying, someone speeds up, someone slows down, but it's
you don't even feel the adjustment happening.
Yeah.
You don't even feel it. You just naturally, but then you're at a casual pace. Now, if you run now, you might be out of breath, but you can walk. Anyone can walk together for however long, So that's my opinion.
You're making me think I need to convert this podcast into a walk-in podcast.
Yeah, I think so.
That's an interesting idea, actually.
Yeah, just walk and talk, right in the middle, as they say.
So, tell me about your businesses. Like, I don't know if you still do media, but obviously I think everyone does media at this point because, like, I've seen you with your car business, having some reels and stuff like that. So, but I know you have the car business, but I have a feeling you're working on other things too.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm kind of a serial just problem solver. Even when I got into the video, how that really happened was I was terribly afraid of speaking publicly. I was not a person to like be in the front row of the choir and that type of stuff. I would always kind of blend away in the back.
Right.
I always had, I guess, some knowledge, but I could never. Like, I remember one of my good friends, he was a musician, still is a musician. He would set up the mic and just, all I had to do was speak and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. So I started a YouTube channel which was HPN. And I said, okay, if I'm going to be a businessman, I'm going to have to learn how to speak publicly and start to speak. And honestly, like that led me then to be able to speak on camera. And I never forget the first video I did, man. It took me like 18 takes for like 2 sentences.
Right.
I went into Cayman first at the time, and all the cleaners gone, everything. I just stood in one little cubby, and that was just so kind of weird, you know.
Right.
But yeah, so the video business, and then I met 2 of my former associates, and it just kind of grew from there. And you know, they're doing their thing. One of my co-founders, you know, again, we were just looking at problems and thinking, well, if I am shooting this video and doing car stuff, and I did a project for one of my former managers, that went well. Someone at the attendance said, hey, do you do weddings? And I'm like, yeah. No, you know, the first wedding. And then someone at the wedding saw how we were, I guess, organized and so forth. But I think, honestly, just understanding who you are. I've always been a systems-based thinker. And maybe that comes from the car thing as well. But there's always sort of like a unrelated nuance, like it's a embeddability of it. Like it's just, how do you say it now? Like you have different degrees of knowledge, in my opinion. You can just be knowledgeable because you started something, but I always saw it as a layer deeper, because you can't just add more fuel to the car and it's going to work. You need to add more air. But then if you add more air, then add more heat. Then if you need more heat, then you need to do this. And then, you know, just keep cutting. So we started then Trifecta. Then that, you know, that hit its maturity point. And I think a lot of it too is my leadership wasn't as it is now. And I think it comes right back to what we were saying earlier. Your belief in yourself is so limited because you've never been there before, you know? So that kind of hit that level of maturity of that point. And then I started the automotive business, which gave me some confidence, thinking, like, if I can start a videography company, me go into something that I really love, and just looking for problems again. Trust and a level of protection was a huge thing that a lot of people faced. They didn't have trust in their mechanics.
True.
And they didn't feel protected that they were giving them the right information. I think that was the general consensus got from people I spoke to. So that's what I leaned into. Then now we have a sister company now coming around the corner called Home Shield, which are going to be doing something similar to what we did
for the vehicles.
For the vehicles, but for your home or for your apartment, you know. And you know, obviously got other aspects, other smaller ventures that we are turning into larger ones. But again, I kind of hit an identity crisis where you start to make X amount of income and you feel guilty. You know, you feel guilty in the sense that you wish you could show others how to do it and how to believe in themselves, and you kind of feel like, man, why am I here? You know, why am I other people can't be here? Why, you know, and you feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have more than enough. Maybe I shouldn't be abundant. Maybe I should just have enough that I can pay my bills, and you know, so you kind of go through these things
because it isolates you, right?
It does
from your friends and from your family.
I can't speak to certain people about doing $1,000 a day, $5,000 a day. Like you feel that resistance kind of build,
right?
And it's, I think, because people know me, but they don't really know me. You know, it's just like you. If I ask you who you are, you might say 2 words, which is a name, you know, but who you are might take 8 hours, you know, might take 8 days to determine who you are. And I believe that also conflicts with you in your own self-identity to say, you know what, maybe I am not this. And I think by starting these businesses, it was an extension for me to provide my my problem solving to a market. Because that's where I have a young man now that, again, he's like trying to get into business, and I said, identify problems first. Don't think about how you'll make money, because you're just thinking about you trying to get involved into something that makes you make money. I think the money should be as a result of the effectiveness of your solution,
Right.
of the problem that you're solving.
Right.
Personally, and I could be absolutely wrong, but it has served me well. you
Yeah,
know?
no, I mean, I think that's something, that's a consensus agreement on being an entrepreneur, is identifying that problem and solving it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's very interesting that that's
Yeah.
what makes a good entrepreneur,
Yeah.
you know?
And then kind of knowing where you are as well, like in what your business is. Here's my 2 cents, right? I think a lot of people, they don't know what business they're in. They believe what they do is the business they're in. That's not the case. For me, AutoShield is not an automotive service provider. We are a data company, right? We are a
That's
data
interesting.
company. We just happen to provide automotive services.
Right.
But I gave the examples to this in many occasions. I said, okay, if you go back to the early 1900s, the train companies thought that they were making trains. They didn't realize they were in the transportation industry. Now, when aircrafts came over and allowed them to transport people further, faster, and then the automobile became, and the roads, complied, they were trying to build better locomotives. But they wanted to train. They wanted to get where they had to go. And if you don't understand what business you're in, you will lose sight. I had a young lady that was helping with some insight into her beauty salon. I said, hey, listen, you're not into hair. Like, you're in a beautification business. So I said, here's how I prove it. Anyone here has left looking worse than they came in? No. So you're in a beautification. So why stop at hair?
Right.
Why not make them feel beautiful entire way?
Right.
You should have mirrors, a selfie mirror right there. Because people want to see themselves in a flattering way. That is why they come and get their hair done. They're not getting their hair done because it's just,
Because
I
of
guess,
the hair
you know what I'm
itself.
saying?
Yeah.
You're beautifying them.
Right.
And you could see the hamster wheel started turning, Hey, like, John, and I've had these conversations with many other, people. It's like, just understand, to learn how to disconnect from, like what you do to what business you're in.
I've heard that a lot. One famous example is the McDonald's. I'm
Real
sure
estate.
you know where it's a real estate company, right?
Yeah.
Which you don't think about. You think, no, it's a restaurant. I'm in the restaurant business. I'm in the burger business, and then I don't know if you've seen the movie about the founder.
Yeah, with Ray Kroc and them.
Yeah, man, it was really, really good. And it's a real estate company.
Yeah.
We're in the business of buying real estate and renting it out to McDonald's.
Exactly. That was, here's the thing, and that was a bit shifty in how they did that. But again, it comes right back down to, if a person sees opportunity and they've convinced themselves in their soul that is the right thing to do, they will proceed. Your role is now to protect yourself from being able to be, kind of like infringed upon in that kind of way. But yeah, like you said, if you understand what business you're in, now you get to see things from a much broader perspective.
Yeah.
Instead, like, again, another example was a car rental business. I had a friend of mine. He's thinking about how he can rent more cars. I'm like, bro, it's not about a car rental company. You are providing alternative transportation. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, okay, if a person with 2 kids wants to rent a car, and you have a questionnaire and they say, I have 2 kids because my car was hit and I need a rental. Okay, why don't you have some seat covers, little iPad thing in the back there, make that transaction feel comfortable. If someone came in from overseas as maybe like a Ernest & Young or something, an accountant or something, just here for 6 months and need a vehicle, why don't you have a little survey sheet inside to say, hey, here's 5 things you should do in Cayman, right? And here's a little GPS coordinates, a little scan, go to Miss Vivine's, go to, the
All of a
Botanic
sudden
Park.
you're in tourism now,
So now you're providing alternative transportation. You're not just saying, hey, here's a car rental.
It's not just car rental.
Nah, if you do that, then you will die to someone that is thinking that way.
Right.
And I think that's why we kind of remained a monopoly with Auto Shield for quite some time, is because people are trying to do the thing. They're not becoming another version of it. They're just, let me fix a tire. Let me do this.
Right.
No,
right.
we don't do that.
Another good example is Althea from CICBD. When she used to work here, she would tell me about this guy in Jamaica who has a bakery.
Okay.
And she says that he thought he was in the bakery business.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, this man is transporting bakery all over Jamaica in trucks and in cars.
Yeah.
And then one day he had to make the switch. He's like, I'm in the transportation business.
Yeah.
And that changes everything.
Yes,
and then you start looking at the business differently, right? Like he in his head, he was a baker and that's all he could see.
Yeah.
He never thought he would be in the transportation business, right?
Yeah.
And that's crazy to think about, because usually when I don't know, I feel you're a little different. For me, when I started a business, and I think when some other people start business, they start something because they love it. I love to bake. So I am starting a bakery.
Yes.
That's maybe what this guy was thinking.
Yes.
He's not thinking about transportation. That's probably the last thing on his mind.
The
right?
passion also kind of jades your vision as well, and that's where I see some people get into mechanics because they love mechanic work. That is the pure intention. Like, I am a mechanic, so let me open up my shop. But again, if you lose sight of the actual problem or the agitation that the customer is experiencing, you're saying, I care more about my problem than it is I care enough about you to figure what your problem really is.
Your business suffers because of that, because of your passion.
So now you kind of locked in on how do I fix cars as opposed to how do I create an experience that makes it pleasurable to transact with me while I fix your car. And when you do that, you become a different entity entirely. No, I can tell you this, right? If your brand does not convey emotion when they hear the name, that means you're not building a brand. You might have a nice logo, you may have a nice color scheme and all these things, but if it does not convey some form of adjective, some form of emotion, you're because there's like, you're trying to logic someone into a decision. No one does that. No, people buy because they want to buy. They buy based on, they transact with people that they trust, that they feel good about. If I said to you Ferrari, you don't think, oh, well, it's a 8.7 liter, 5.6 liter. No, you think fast, luxurious,
stylish,
red. These are now
emotional aspects. Yeah.
You think Mercedes Benz. No one thinks, I'm going to buy a Benz because it's a better car. No.
Yeah.
They think it makes me feel good.
Right.
People perceive me as someone when they see me drive up in an S500.
Right.
They automatically assume something about me in a G-Wagon.
Right.
You see?
Right.
You can show up in a, a Honda Fit and be the same person, but your perception to them is not.
Right.
And that's it. Your brand should be conveying emotion. And if you're not leading towards that emotion, people transact with Auto Shield because they trust us. At the end of the day, that's why we're successful. We have made it a point to focus on conveying so much trust by the systems that we deploy that they now have a positive experience with that, and they just will say, well, I trust this guy, so I will continue to use him. That's it. Simple as that.
I know. I love that, what you do. I love that business. I think because so many people don't understand vehicles, don't want to understand vehicles, don't have the time, and they feel an element of mistrust with their mechanics and, you know, whoever else that they're buying vehicles from. And then to think about what you're doing with the sister company with the house, I think that's nice.
Yeah.
Because the same thing, people don't understand construction. They don't know if the house is built well or not. They don't know, you know, necessarily the things to think about. So, and you know, and then you're so removed from the developer and the constructor, you know, you're not really going to meet them. You're going to meet the real estate agent who probably don't know nothing really about the place, or at least you don't know that they do, right?
Yeah.
So like to have
Again,
that trusted intermediary, I think is very, very
there you
nice.
go.
I love how you look at things from a problem perspective, which I think is really cool, because that's not how I started. I never started from a problem that I wanted to solve. You know, it was a creative thing. I need to produce. I need to create.
Yeah.
That's just who I am.
Yeah.
I didn't actually go, you know, about solving problems. That came after.
Yes.
And it's probably more of a thing now than it's ever been for me to try and find, you know, what the solution is.
Yeah, but if you think about it too, a lot of the logistical support that you're doing for productions when they come on island, you're facilitating transportation, you're getting them to and from, you know, shoots and so forth.
No, that one's huge. Yeah, those
you know
are problems I'm solving.
So now that's it. So now you're looking at it, that is a linchpin there. Now, if you were to ask me in any business, the first problem you got to solve is cash flow, not just from I got some big clients. And no, if you don't have cash, you are dead. If you cannot create daily cash, you're dead in the water. And you can actually detach into become two different people. For me, there is CEO John, and then there is technician John. So like, whenever I need cash, I can go to the market with an offer and certain things, and I can create that and create the cash flow because I can just open up. But you could also be like, my company be 10 times the size if I just focused on just making money. I am focusing on solving problems in such a way that it didn't occur to people that was a problem. So when you show up with that solution to something that they didn't even know was a problem, you automatically have assumed your authority in them. You know, and think about it as a video producer, right? If you show up thinking about, okay, what's your budget? And you don't ask questions like, okay, well, do you know if you have a metric to know if your campaign will be successful or not? If you don't make it about them and you're just like, all right, what's your budget and whatever else, it rubs them the wrong way in the sense, yeah, you might can do the work, but you're not there for them and they can pick up on it. Yeah. You know, and it's the same thing that if you dated a girl, right? Imagine you went on a first date and you had the outcome that you wanted in your head. You're not even trying to ask her questions about her. You see something you like, you're like, all right, that's what I want. And they can...
You're not going to get it.
They can pick up on that.
Oh, yeah, easy.
But if you are interested, and that's why I think, you know, they're not really interesting, is like, you become interested in that person. You're going to ask better questions. You're going to say, hey, so where do you go to school? These things, blah, 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 because you are genuinely interested. That curiosity feels refreshing to the other person because no one has ever asked me that before. Right. And if you can continually doing that and lower that resistance, eventually
you can get to your goal.
They get to that second date, that third date. And if they are within that person that you see them to be and they see you to be, then you have magic. Then you know, you can blossom to a relationship and so forth. But again, if I say it all the time, if people suffer from me-itis, you know, I, me, you know, I need to make this money, not, I wonder what this problem is. Right. The root problem, not a problem that you see. You don't see with your eyes, you know what I mean? Like you're picking up, oh, well, you know, like right now we think we see with our eyes. No, we reflecting light off the surfaces. Blind people have eyes. You know what I'm saying? But they can't see. Right. You know, so it's coming into our brain and it's registering. Magicians use sleight of hand and different things all the time. So I think we got to get to the understanding that we're not what we do. You know, we're not what we do. And I knew a lot of people that went into businesses and thinking, well, I am a chef, I'm gonna open a restaurant. I'm like, why would you open a restaurant, bro? I would be selling knives and forks and plates. I would be selling to sellers. Okay, that is how if you want to go into business making money, or listen, if you want to cook, then cook. Don't believe you're going to go into a restaurant and believe you're going to cook, and it's going to doesn't work that way. Because the dining is about the experience. That's it. And you can hear all these different, key positionings, all kind of different ways people trying analogies. No, it doesn't matter, man. It's, it's like if you are very passionate about it, it will affect you. You'll think, if I can just make this food better. They're not there for the food. You think if you went to Mykonos or whatever, you think you're paying for the food? If he came out with a Dixie cup and a paper plate, would you feel the same way about the food?
Right.
You're getting the environment, the ambience, the decor, the experience is what you're paying for. If the food is great, then it's a bonus. But that's what you're really there for. You're there to show people that you are this person, because I can afford to spend $200 on a meal. That's it. The food should be on the list of lower down to the list.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true. But most people when they start a restaurant, they don't think that way. Or if it's a chef, they're not going to think that way. It's funny, man. You need to start the business before you can even start thinking about it, these things that we're talking about. People that haven't started the business, they're just it's still superficial. Like a lot of people come to me with ideas, and I look at the ideas and I'm like, they're just thinking the wrong way about it. They're just thinking, and then there's nothing I can do to really tell them other than just start. Because then when you start, then you'll start thinking differently about everything.
Absolutely.
And like it's so crazy how that is, You
got to become, I think Myron Golden said it best, this guy I listen to a lot. He's like, a lot of times people get fixated on the doing part. And that's great to get started with something, right? So people will look at people that have things and they'll say, well, I got to do this. I got to start this business. So they start to do it. And it gets to a certain point. But there's a stage before that, which is the becoming. You could become a business person before you start a business. But what would that look like, John? If you can't wake up and set 3 targets that you want to hit within this 24-hour period that you have, don't even think about going into business. Because you have to learn how to will yourself into a principled, disciplined type of mindset to say, I'm going to do this.
True.
And then now when you become something, a different version of yourself, it allows you to do more than you were already capable of doing, so that you can then have more than you already have. But it starts with the becoming stage, in my opinion. It starts with being and seeing yourself as this person. You like, all right, I'm going to be this person. So now you might have to get better money management skills. And it doesn't have to start with a lot of money. It could start with something simple. I'm going to be giving a talk in the BRAC, I think, coming up, and on Money Matters. And
you getting back on that plane again?
It's just in the BRAC though. So if I could take a boat, I take a boat, I would take it by. But it's not so bad when I'm on a plane. But it's just something. But what I'm saying is like, there's certain.
So this is gonna be in the BRAC. Where you gonna be giving a? Where is this? What is this for?
This is for the youth empowerment.
Okay.
I was a panelist at the Marriott with 2 other young ladies. I can't remember the other lady, but Danielle was one of them. And it was a great opportunity to be on the panel and being able to speak to some of the youth, some of the people that were there, to share some principles, because I don't believe you really need a lot of discipline. I think it's the principles in there. I think
what's the difference? Because what is the difference?
In my opinion, principles is more of a governing body. The discipline is just you doing it. But you can do the wrong thing. Like, it's like if you go to the gym and you want to gain muscle, go to the gym for 2 hours and you go there. You're disciplined to go to the gym
but you're not principled. And it's a waste of time.
The principle is you need a lift, You need to eat more. You need to sleep more, and so on and so forth.
Right,
so
right.
if you follow these types of principles, you will go. Just like there are certain principles, income follows assets. You know, so you can create income producing assets. Certain principles that I would share with people is, you know, the whole give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teaching, I'm like, why would you fish? I teach people how to own the lake and rent the boats.
Right.
If you think about it, okay, Dart owns Cayman Bay and many other projects. You can't buy anything from Dart. Okay, so you can rent, you can lease. That's it.
True.
That's it. So if you own the lake, Cayman Bay, and just rent the boats, you don't need to fish. Because, again, that's a fundamental difference, in my opinion, between an entrepreneur and a businessman. You know, an entrepreneur is, you know, not from a literal definition, but from what I see it, is an individual trying to trade a good product or service in relation to time. So everything they talk about is income in relation to some form of time. Now, a businessman is an individual actively trying to disconnect their revenue from time. So if you think about it like this, the guy that owned this plaza, the nomenclature that they use, the words that they use as an entrepreneur is saying, okay, I got this much, I got it, my rent is this much, I got to sell this product for this much because I need to pay my overheads and so forth. Everything is in relation to time. I got this much to pay by the month. The businessman now has said, listen, I got 200 square feet at $100 a square foot. That's $2,000 a month. That's it. I don't care if it's a roller rink. I don't care if it's a vape shop. Doesn't matter what's in here. $2,000 a month. So now his language is not in time. His language is he makes money per square foot. So because it's disconnected from time, now what do I do if I want to make more money? I can either go up per dollar per square foot, or I need to find more land to buy another place. Simple as that. Simple as that. So when you disconnect your revenue from time, now you understanding that, and without going too much, that's a lot of our income producing with Auto Shield is we don't like focus on time. You know what I'm saying? So that being said, is like, if you went back to the restaurant, for example, okay, let's say that person opened for 8 hours. They may think, I need to make X amount to make this payroll and make that. So they're thinking, I need to sell X amount. But if they don't see that they can set up a VIP mailing list, that they could create a cooking show, a cooking series, that they could have workshops into how to bake their signature dish, and have people come and pay $100 to learn to bake, they wouldn't even offer that because they think no one would be interested. Your job as an entrepreneur, as a business person, is not to think. It's to find what the people need and then provide that. The more you think, the worse it is. As counterintuitive as, the more you think, it's not going to work out that well. It works for a degree, but not to say you can't think at all, but you should be thinking about how do you get into the market and make yourself more findable to people. And by, you offer that. Let's imagine you that same person, right? Who here knows how to make Cayman style beef? Can you go on YouTube right now and look who is making Cayman style beef? Who is making cassava cake? Okay, can you find it? I don't think it exists. Okay, that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? So now, if you now become the person that teaches people how to make authentic Caymanian food, people might say, well, oh my God, I could teach them how to not. No, that's a selfish person. They will think that way. Yeah, let's look at it and see. Yeah, I teach people how to fix their own tire. And people think, well, that's dumb, John. Why would you teach them? They're not going to need you. Right. No. Why would they get... Let's see who that is now.
This is how you cook Cayman style beef. Cayman luxury travel.
Right. Cool.
Real cool. Siobhan Hyde.
Siobhan. Okay. Shout out to Siobhan. All right.
Okay, it's out there. We got something. We got something going on.
So we got some YouTube shorts. But is it a step by step or?
Let's see.
All right. Let's see.
This one's 20 minutes long.
Oh, okay. So it might be some.
Okay, nice.
All right. Any timestamps or anything?
Doesn't look so. Let's see.
So we are really excited because today she's going to show us how to prepare the real.
Okay.
I think I've seen her before. She's done a few.
Oh yeah, sure. Oh yes, okay. I know she. Yeah, she can cook for sure. That's one of my cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, mess with. Okay. So again.
We are, and it really will.
Michelle.
Experience.
That's why I've seen this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's his business there. Great. I speak to him in the barbershop sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And here's another one.
Knowledgeable guy. And that's a short or?
Yeah, I've retained the bones. I've still got the bones. They're going in. They don't have to be cleaned off too much.
Yeah, I don't know if I trust that kid. What's that? I want
I
to hear Eastern. I want to hear Eastern
English
voice.
accent. But it's interesting. He's doing it. You
Yeah,
know?
I want to hear one Whitaker on them berries or. Yeah, but here's the thing.
And then
at least start it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And here's it now. Imagine you have that restaurant. You putting out content consistently about different things.
Mm-hmm.
You have a little waiting list to say, hey, if we're gonna create this new dish, all of my customers I've interacted with, here is my offer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you want to buy it at $50 and eat every, one plate of food 5 times a day, you may not even get that. But what I'm saying is, you're offering it to people because you're looking at it from a different perspective. And basically what happening now is you will position yourself as the leader of how to make Caymanian cuisine. And then that now, not just from a marketing standpoint, but it shows that I just want to share my cooking. And now you can start to build a brand outside of actually what your food is, and people now come to check that out. And it just works rather than having the restaurant and think, oh, well, no one is showing up.
Right.
No one is showing up because you're not making yourself findable. It's not your job to print flyers and post that. That'll work. Show up. I find it interesting, like, I probably have produced more content than all of my competitors combined. And people will say, well, you're successful, John. Well, I'm successful because I show up to the market. If you Google right now, like flat tire or whatever it is, like, I'm going to show up. And people will think, well, it's counter narrative. Like, you showing people how to solve the problem. Yeah, because it shows that I know how. You think a person would want to get under the car and jacket it up and all? No, they don't want to do it. They want to know that you can know how to do it.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, it's
So-
true. Like we've been noticing that too in the videography space, is that people want to see you doing the videography. The stuff that we put out there that's produced is not as exciting as when we're behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
And then that gets you more attention, and then then people want to hire you based on that. And I see a lot of other videographers now doing a lot of behind. This is my setup. Basically showing you how to make it look good, which is counterintuitive to what you're saying. Why are you showing people how to do it?
Correct.
But at the end of the day, it makes people trust you a bit more. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, people don't want to do it. People don't necessarily, want to change their flat tire or cook Cayman style beef. They want to know you do.
Again, it's just the outcome, man. Like, if you are a video producer, no one is paying you for your video production. You are a visual communication firm.
Right.
If you can't communicate visually the thing that is in that person's mind, no one cares if you're using a Sony A7R5 or no one cares.
It's true.
No one cares what the pixel ratio or if 4K. Listen, I want a video for this.
Yeah.
And
the end of story, bro.
That's it.
That's it.
Now, your job now is to say, do you think you really need a video for that? What are you trying to communicate here? Are you trying to communicate that this or this? And then as you start to ask better questions, you now unravel what they thought they wanted. And now your expertise is saying, what if we go this route and tie that in right there? Like, oh, that's a great idea. Now, whatever the budget is, whatever thing, they will pay you because you have led them down that path. You see, rather than saying, and I think that's where the behind the scenes videos, people want to see people work. And if you do that, you're just showing up, showing that you're capable of working. Your lighting setup and all that, no one cares. I can tell you right now, the client, correct me if I'm wrong, has any client ever said to you, you using an aperture type light or no? No one, like, I gonna look good. And if you rig up your camera with a nice cage and everything, people will be like, oh my God. Think about it. If you showed up with a Canon T2i, even if you are capable of making amazing content, the customer perception is like, I'm paying $10,000 and he don't have a trolley worth of equipment. I don't think this could go good. If you show up with a cage and gimbals and all these things, they gotta think, this is going to be awesome.
Right.
That's what they think, and this perception is real. And I think if you can continue to create content that leads that perception to that person that, yo, this man know what he's doing, then you will carve your own niche, carve your own lane, and you'll never be in a position where you have competition, because you really don't in business. No one can do what you do. People can do other versions of what you do, but how you do it,
that's your unique advantage, right? Everybody has that unique
but
way
you
of
have to
doing
be
things.
bold, you know. You have to be bold to be able to express your personality and your opinion of doing it. You don't fall in love with, I want them to do it. No, I want to see that. I mean, to go back to the female example again. You ever wanted a girl to like you and you just acted weird around it?
Right.
You're trying why don't she like me? Well, because you're acting weird, bro.
Right.
Just be yourself.
Be yourself.
And you're thinking, because your outcome is you want her to like you. So you show up as this desperate person trying to believe that if I can get her to see me. No, bro, just be yourself. And if you do that and you play cool and nonchalant and everything, they're like, oh my God, you're so interesting. Because you're not thinking about the outcome to you.
That's the fallacy. That's the fallacy of the good guy. The guy who acts good, acts a certain way. I always used to say this. I used to say, like, you know, they say like the bad guys always get the girl, and I would always say, because the good guy is lying. Right, which is weird, because what do you mean I'm good? No, you're actually lying, because that's not who you are, and that's not how you act.
That's it.
Right? So you're actually lying, even though you're trying to be good or you're pretending to be good. It's a straight fucking lie.
That's it. And the thing is, you're trying to you're trying to convince this person. You're trying to get them to an outcome that you desire, as opposed to the outcome that is desirable to them. And if you are a good person, then just be that person. Just be yourself. But you're like, oh my God, yeah.
Bro, no. I spent a ton of time on the red pill, but I don't think I ever quite connected it with business the way that you're making me think about it right now.
Yeah, boy.
There's a lot of similarities there.
That's it.
I'm excited about this.
Good politicians, it's a way of words, you know, and if you can understand women and understand that part of it, it kind of makes you stand out in a certain area, because like you said, it is about just uncovering the true thing. And then if you do that well enough and you're more interested in them, they will tell you. Matter of fact, to any entrepreneur right now watching, I mean, look directly at the camera. If you are sitting down with a discovery meeting and you are talking more than 30% of the time, stop, okay? You're not trying to sell them anything right then and there. Ask better questions.
Yeah.
And then 60% of the conversation should be that person. Then now you're so, I want to get the sale, the sale, I need to get the sale, So you're trying to logic them into a conclusion.
And the same thing if you're on a date with a girl. She's not trying to hear you talk. I'm sorry. She's not
Ask her
trying
about
to hear
herself,
you talk.
man.
Yes.
And don't talk about your day.
Yes.
Oh, man. Don't be like, how's your day? Listen, find something genuinely interesting between the two. And if you can't do that, then maybe she's not the one for you. Not every customer should be your customer.
True.
You want to be Louis Vuitton or you want to be Target.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't serve both.
Right.
So maybe this woman may not be the person for you.
Right.
You might be into anime and she's not. And if you can't find some gap that you can bridge, then that's it. Thank her for her time and leave it there. You know what I mean? But
Bro, I can go back through all my red pill principles and start applying them to business. What you been doing, man?
you know what I'm saying? Like, listen, agitating them, man. I've been telling you, but we try to think it's you know, but it's the same thing, man. It's so much similarities. You know what I'm saying? There's so much similarities with everything. It's serendipitous when you look back at it, you know, because it's all about identifying a problem and being a gentleman to say, you know what, I care about you. So let me ask you how you're doing, and use certain tonality. You know what I'm saying? If you trying to, so how you do that? Nah, bro, just be chill.
Yeah. My wife owns a spa, and someone came to apply for a position, and my wife came home. She's like, this person was just talking the whole time. I couldn't even get a word in. And I was like, big mistake.
Yeah.
Like that, she's not gonna get hired. You know, too much talk, because she was trying to sell herself, and that's just not.
Yeah.
It's counterintuitive, but it's funny how so much of this is just so counterintuitive.
Yeah,
right? But
it is.
You have to be asking the questions.
Yeah.
You know, she should have been talking less. She should have been asking my wife more and more things about the business. What do you think about this, or how do you do that?
Yeah.
What's your philosophy? No, but she's there like, it's like, no.
Again, because
No.
you know, like, if nature is some of the best teachers, and you look at a plant, it grows down before it grows up. You know what I'm saying? So we want the thing because we want the thing, rather than just saying, is this the right thing for me, and can I position myself like this young person that should have maybe had the interview. If you can pause for a minute and just answer the question without seeming desperate, and kind of the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying, then it makes that person feel like, oh my God, this person is going to be, they're too needy of it. So therefore, it's going to be a headache for me, because I can see it already. And that's where a female will look at this person and say, oh, he's telling me all about how he was valedictorian and he's an Army Ranger and all these things. And it's like, yo, I'm going to go and go mess with Derek, you know what I mean? Because Derek don't talk. He let me talk, you know what I mean? So Derek is just like, and I had a friend of mine, dude, that legit, we were in the nightclubs, we were in the old bar and Aqua Beach Face. This man just be posting on the wall the entire time. I don't know if he is like telepathic or something. And then, you know, towards the end of the night, he's like, just talk to just whisper something, and just like, I'm like, bro, like, what is this?
It just attracts them.
Yeah, that's it. I think just that, or to say strong silent type, I guess. But I think you got to be a strong silent type in business.
I love it. I love it, bro.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, man. So, like I said, thank you very much, bro.
Yeah, man. No problem, man. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. And before you go, I want to find out about that bus ride.
Yeah?
That bus ride you took today. But I had this idea, and I won't go on these buses and just interview people.
Yo, I think you should. Because you meet some interesting people there, man. You meet some truly interesting people.
How much for the bus? Still $2?
$2, man.
Still
$2.
$2?
Yeah, by $2, man. I helped a tourist. They gone to the back of the bus, and you know, it wasn't uncomfortable for them, but when they open up and they see a bunch of people, like, oh, okay, we don't know what to do here. So I tell them, you have to tell them one stop. If you want to, just ride the bus straight down back to West Bay, or to the thing.
One stop.
Yeah, just one stop.
Not two. Not two stops. One stop.
But I think, honestly, that would be a pretty cool thing to just see. And listen, man, Cayman is such a huge melting pot. Yeah. And you meet so many interesting people. Yeah. And sometimes I'll just ride a bus just because I don't want to drive. You know, I'll just go Cafe Del Sol, get something, and then take the bus back. Or just have, one of my staff just pick me up.
Right.
But to avoid, come. And then I think a lot on the bus, to be honest. The things about my childhood, man. Yeah.
I've not been on one of them.
You know, you have to go.
I know, you making me think about that.
Yeah, I took my daughters one time, and they're like, I don't know, Daddy. They had fun. We had fun, No, granted, some of them can be full still, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think you should. I think everybody ride a public bus. You know what I mean? Do yourself a favor. Just ride a bus. yeah, man.
All right, bro.
All right, man.
I
Thank you
appreciate
very much,
it, man. Real good chatting.
right.
Thanks a lot for inspiring me and making me think about things a little bit differently.
All right, bro.
Yeah, man. I definitely like your perspective on solving the problems. I think I need to do more of that, and I need to apply these red pill lens to business as
Respect,
well.
man.
Yeah, man. So I think I appreciate this conversation because you gave me some homework to do.
That sounds good.
Because a lot of what I do is still, and a lot of and especially in our business. We are creators. We want to create for
That's
our own
it.
selves. And like even today, like I see a lot of the videographers are still about wanting it to look good, and they don't want to shoot vertical. They still want to shoot horizontal because it's about them.
Yep.
It's not about where the market is going.
That's it.
Right? A cell phone can get you millions of views.
Oh,
You don't need
right now,
a red camera, bro.
Doug DeMoro sold his business for like, I think 40 million or something like that. He does this is a 1967 Ford Mustang, and he literally a mic in his iPhone.
Yeah.
Still to this day. That's it.
That's it.
And he just does a lot of B-roll stuff.
And that's hard for videographers to understand that, to accept that. They're like, no.
I want quality. No one paying you for your quality, bro.
Yeah.
People are paying you. Did you solve the problem?
Yeah.
And did you ask questions to even solve the problem, to know what problem you're solving? You're trying to shoot better looking video. No one cares about your video, bro. I'm gonna just leave
No
you
one
this.
cares about your video.
I'm gonna just leave you this simple principle. Wherever there is too much quality, focus on abundance. Wherever there's too much abundance, focus on quality. Right now, everything is saturated, which is a perfect opportunity because the market is already aware of this. So now you make yourself stand out, you just have to look at the problems that people are still facing and then make content on that. That's it. Because people are already shooting. Everyone is, I want to get the new, red, but blah, 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 the night.
Don't bother wasting money on that.
No one cares, bro. If you can't make $1,000 with an iPhone, you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
And it's so easy because at the end of the day, it's just, again, like, go to people, ask, da-da-da-da. But if you're, again, I get it though. People want the quality and that's great, but I can promise you this. No one cares about the quality. No one cares. The actual customer, they may care of the production style. But if you're using 4K, 2K, 1080, no one cares. If you upload on social media, it's dead anyway. Right? That getting compressed anyway. That going from H.264 down to whatever. So, you know what I mean? So you can do Z-Log and all these S-Logs. No one cares, dude. You with nodes and you trying to do all this color grade. Please, bro. You know what I mean?
Oh, man, yo.
Respect, bro.
Yeah, man. Big
cool,
up, man.
Cool,
I'm glad I ran into you today, man.
Thanks, bro. Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Appreciate
All the
it.
best.